Hello and welcome. I am Raghav, and today we are going to learn step by step from scratch how can we do data driven testing with Postman. So this will be very easy and very interesting. We will learn how do we get data from a CSV file. We will also see how to get data from a JSON file, and then we will run our data driven API requests. I will also show you how you can refer the values from the data files in the test scripts. So let's get started. I will discuss some useful tips with you as well during the sessions. So here, step number one is we will create a API request first. So I'm going to my Postman. I have opened my Postman on the browser. If you like, you can continue on the browser, or if you are using a Postman on your desktop, you can use that. So here, I'll create a new API request. So I'm going to click on this plus button, and I will create. Let us say I go to this reqres.in website, and I will select a API request from here. It has a lot of sample APIs. You can use any of your API requests. So I have this register user, which is a post request. I will click on this, and here is the endpoint. This is the request body. This is the response that we get, and the response body. So to get the complete URL, you can click on this URL, and you will get the complete URL here. So I'll copy this, and first I will change the method to post. This is the URL, and I will go to the body section and click on draw and just copy this body here, and this is a JSON, so I will go here and say JSON, and this is done, and that's it. I will save, and here I can save it in a new collection or any of the existing collections. First let me give it a name. I will say this is register user, and here I will go to the, let us go to the new collection folder. You can use any collection, and I will save it. So you can see this is saved here. I can also create a new folder inside this new collection. I can say add folder, and I will name this folder as data driven demo, and I'll just put this API inside this folder. This is optional. I'm just doing this so that we have a clean structure and you can understand it easily. You can keep this API in any collection. And now this is my API request. Let us run and check it. I will click on send. Once you have saved your request, you can run the request, and yes, you can see we are getting the response. We are also getting the response code 200 okay, and everything is fine. Now one thing I have observed here is if I give some, if I add something to this endpoint, let us say QA, and then I run this, in this case in the response I get 201, the status code 201 created, and then I also get the email and the password that I have sent in the request. So if I go back to the request body, this was the email I sent and the same email I have received. Let us say if I change this email and password, and I save and send it again, you can see I'm getting the same email and password. So I can use this functionality to actually check that I'm getting the same values in the response. So this will be easy for validation. So I can use this. We have created an API request. Now we will create the variables and refer in the request. So here I can parameterize wherever I want to refer the data from the data files. So if you like if you want to, you can create variables like global variables or environment variables and then refer them in the request. In this case, because I want to refer them directly from the data files, I will skip the step of creating the variables. I can just refer the variables directly within this request. So let us say I want to get some data for the endpoint here. So let us say this part should come from a variable or from a data file, and this I will name as, let us say, endpoint. So this is how I do it. I give double curly brackets and then give the variable name. So this is now parameterized. Similarly, let us say the email, I want to get it from the data file. So I will add a variable here as well, and this I will call as email. So within double curly brackets, you give the variable name, and the same goes for, let us say, password as well. And here I will give the variable name as password. So now these three variables, or these three data, endpoint, email and password, should come from a data file like a CSV or a JSON file. So for that, we will create a CSV file or a JSON file and add these values so that these can be referred from there. So let us do that. Now we have to go to run collection and then refer the data file. So before doing that, before going to run collection, let us first create the files, the test data files. So here uh, I'm on my Mac system, so I can go to Excel or numbers application to create a CSV file. If you are on Windows, you can just open your Excel file or Excel worksheet, add the data and save as .csv extension. Or the other way is, you can just open any text editor or notepad on Windows and add data in a CSV format or comma separated format and then save with .csv extension. Let me show you. I'm here on my Mac, so I will open numbers, which is application similar to Excel, and here I can create a CSV file. So I'm just opening a blank file here. So this is like Excel, and here let me just remove these extra rows and columns. I will delete this as well. Yeah, this is fine. So this is Excel file. So here I will give the same names as the variable names I have given, which is endpoint. So this is endpoint. Let me increase this so that you can see this properly. Endpoint, then we have email, and make sure this is should be case sensitive. So make sure that you give the same name exactly how you have given in the Postman variables, and this is password. Now here I will start giving the value. So this is the header, then we will have the data rows. So let us say for the endpoint, I will say I'll give the endpoint here, then email, and password. Then again the second data set, you can add any number of data sets. I will say I'll give some email and give some password, and I will save this. Now here for Mac, I have an option. I can go to file and say export to CSV. In case of Windows, you just have to save it and then change the extension to CSV, or save it as a CSV file. So I will save it as a CSV file, and I will call this as test data 1.csv, and this will go on my documents folder. So this is done. Now I will go to run collection. So here I will go to this collection, click on these three dots and say run collection, and here I'm just going to select the API that I want to run, which is register user, and here we have an option to select the file. And once I select the file, the iterations will get updated automatically based on the number of data sets we have in our file. So I'll click on select file, and I will go to my documents folder, and this is my CSV file. I will select the file, and you can see it has updated 2 iterations because there were 2 data sets in my CSV file. Also, if you observe, my CSV file is added here, and the data file type is updated to text CSV. So there are other options as well application JSON or undetermined, if it is not able to find what format is it, but it has found it is a CSV format, so it has used this. And we also have this very good feature that you can preview your data. So if I click on preview, you can see we are getting all our data, and this is what you should see in a proper format. You should see these headers, which should be same as the variables we have given, and your data here. In case you do not see this in a proper format, then you must change, you must check your CSV file and must update the values. Now one thing I am seeing here is there is an extra column, so I will have to check this. I'll go to my file, and I don't know if this is something missing, or I think it should be fine. Let me just run and check this. So here I will click on run new collection, and let us see if it is able to use our variables or data from the data file. So here looks fine. You can see it is saying 201 created, 201 created, so this looks fine. And here it does not shows us pass or fail because we do not have any tests in our API. So let me add some tests as well. I will go back to my API, go to the test section, and I will just add a test to check status code is 201. So I'm clicking here in the snippet, and it has added this snippet, and I will just change 201 200 to 201 and save it. I'll go back to the collection, and I will say run again, and this time it should also run the tests. So you can see the tests are running and everything is passed. And I can also go to the console. We have learned this in the debugging session. If I go to this console here, I will clear and run again, and we can see all the output on the console. So it has done 2 times. If I look at the first run, you can see it has taken this API endpoint from our data file, and if I check the request body, it has taken this email and password from there. And then if I see the response body, this is how the response looks like. And then for the second run, this is the second run, this is the endpoint taken. And if I check the request body, this is the request body, email and password taken from that CSV file, and this is our response. So this is working fine, and we are able to run with a CSV file. Let us also see how we can use a JSON file. Now if you want to create a JSON file, you can use any notepad or text editor and add your JSON data, and then save it as a .json format. So here, add JSON data in any text or notepad file and save as .json extension. Now once you do that, you should also verify that you have a valid JSON data, and for that we have a lot of options and tools online. So if I search for JSON uh, beautifier or validator, I can use any of the JSON formatter. So let me see if I get some options here. Yeah, this one is fine. Let me go to this one. This is JSON formatter and validator, and this is the URL. So I can directly create a JSON here, and then I can download it or I can copy it in my JSON file. So to create a JSON, so I'll give a curly bracket here, start, and stop, and within this curly bracket I will add my data. So let us say the first thing I want to add is the endpoint. I'll say endpoint within quotes, and then the value of the endpoint. So I'll just copy the value. So this is what I want. I can also just copy from here as well. Then I give a comma, and then the second value, which is email, and I give the value of the email, then comma, and then the third data, which is password, and the value, I'll give the value of the password, and that's it. Now this is one set of data. If you want one more set, then you give a comma here. So I give a comma here, and just you can copy the same thing, that is from the start of this curly bracket and the end of this curly bracket, the same thing. And here I can change the values. Okay, and that's it. So this is a valid JSON, and you can also click on process to validate if it is a valid JSON or not. And here I am going to download it, so I will click on download JSON. So it has got downloaded, and there are many other tools. So if you just search for JSON formatter or beautifier, you can find a lot of options. So let me check. If you go to Google and search for JSON beautifier or JSON formatter, you should see all these options here. Let us just wait for this to give us some options. Meanwhile, we have got our JSON file downloaded, and this you can also do the other way, like first you create a JSON file and then come here and just validate that your JSON is correct. So this is very important to validate that you have got a valid JSON. And for now I'll go back and use the JSON file in the collection runner. So I'll go here, let me clear the console logs, and I will go back to my collection and say run collection, and I'm just running this API, and this time I will select a JSON file. So I'm going to the downloads folder, and this is my JSON file, and yes, everything looks fine. If I you can see it has updated 2 iterations, and this is the file, and it has selected application JSON in the file type, and we have got a preview. So if I click on preview, so everything looks fine here. I can now say run new collection, and here everything is running fine. It has run it 2 times with 2 sets of data, and the tests are also pass. If I look at the console, you can see here this is my request body, and then this is the first run, this is the response body, and for the second run this is my request body here, and you can see everything is taken from the JSON file. So this is how we can get data from a CSV or a JSON file. Now in case you want to run this, you want to refer data from any of these data files in scripts like a test script or a pre-request scripts, in that case you will have to use some different format. Let me show you. If I go to my API, I will clear the console and go back to my API, and let us say I'm going to the tests, and I will create a test. I'll call it as verify email in the response, and here I will say response body dot has. And now in case you are referring this from any variable within Postman, we can just give it like this, but this will not work. This will not work in case of getting the data from a data file. For that we will have to say data dot email, so it will get data from the data file. Or the other way is I can say data, and within square brackets I will give the variable name or the header name, that is email. So this is how we use this. If we have to refer data in the scripts, this is how we do this. And let me save this and I'll run it again just to check this works fine. So I'll run the collection. I'll go to run collection and I'll select the file. You can select CSV or JSON file, and I will now run and check. So you can see this is all working fine and verify email has also passed. If I check the console output, you can see this is the request body, and here the email is raghav at req.in, and then if I see the response body, here as well the email is raghav at req.in, and therefore this has passed. So this is how you can refer data in APIs using data files, and I hope this was very useful for you. Please do some hands-on. If you have any questions, you can let me know, and I will see you in the next session. Thank you for watching and never stop learning.